everybody. We're back. Welcome to the first episode of GameSense for 2018. My name's Francis. Joining me today is Ty Tremblay, Ruth Toomey, and Matt Stark. And we're here to talk about, what's that name? Power Up. That's right. Oh, my God. If you've been doing this, I know. Once you've been doing this too many years, you forget exactly how many games there have been. But a couple words before we get started. First off, thank you all for watching. We're glad you're here. One of our main supporters of GameSense is, of course, our sponsor, Symbotic. Check them out at symbotic.com. They make automated warehouse. It's really cool stuff. They got some videos up of what their technology is actually like. So I would definitely take a look at it. Yeah, it's not Stronghold, that's for sure. So a couple other things, too. If you like what we do and you want to support us, feel free to subscribe to us here on Twitch. If you're a Amazon Prime member, you get it for free. Just look in the upper top corner there, take a look, see what's up. It does cost real money otherwise, but if you don't, that's fine. Like I said, we got a sponsor, but you got some cool emotes that you may want to take a look at. So, first off, let's, I guess, get started. This is going to be kind of a chill stream. We're literally just a few hours away from having kickoff, and we're all very excited to be here. And so we just want to talk about Power Up with you guys in the chat. You'll notice that we actually have the chat in the stream. This is the first time we've ever done that here on GameSense. And it's because we just want to talk about the game with cool people like you and these people who are here. So, all right. So, who wants to start off? What do you guys think about? What do you guys think about Power Up? Hot takes incoming. Out time. Really? Why do you think there's going to be big blowouts? No, we can hear you. What's up? Oh, uh-oh, that's weird. That's exceptionally weird. Well, good thing y'all didn't talk for a second there. So anyway, yes, everybody Ty's miming everything right now. Everybody, just in case you were curious. Yes, exactly. We're just gonna double check. That's what I was trying to say before. Okay. Let's just go to this. Oh, you crazy people. They still can't hear you, Ruth, so. They still can't hear you, so. I apologize to everybody.
I'm just saying.
Oh, wait, we just got it back, I think. Can you speak, Ruth?
What?
All right. Yes.
Can you guys hear us now?
They can hear you now. Yes.
All right. All right. So, rewinding a little bit, I think that this is going to be one of the best games of all time. It's easily already in my top 5. I love the creativity. I love that we're finally not shooting something
for like the last 6 years or something.
Oh, jeez, it's been crazy.
Well,
like
you technically can.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you could technically shoot pool noodles too, but
Yeah. Nobody talks about 2015. To kind of piggyback a little bit on what Ty was saying, and I was saying earlier, I think we're going to see some of the biggest score blowouts we've ever seen in this year's competition, because the two scales on each the two switches on each side of the field are probably going to cancel out most of the match. Whoever controls the scale is going to get a boatload of points, absolute boatload of points, and it's going to be really hard to be able to bring that back to the other alliance's control over the course of the match. So we're going to see some wicked blowouts.
I mean, I sort of see what you're saying, but I think that it's going to not be as much of a blowout necessarily all the time, right? Because like, while you may have the switch going back and forth, that's the thing, is it goes back and forth. I mean, there will definitely be a lot of matches where good teams do real good. What? No, I know. I'm stating the obvious here. There could be a lot of teams. There could be a lot of teams that do really good, and they're going to score lots and lots of points, right? But that's how it normally works, right? There are going to be teams like 254 that are going to blow out a lot of teams all the time, and it's just kind of the fact of life. I think. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
you're going to see high numbers, but I think that it's not going to be any stranger than what you would normally see. That's my take at least.
So, Francis, did you say that the switches go back and forth? But they do go back and forth. But do you think that they go back and forth for points?
I think they whip their hair back and forth. Yes. Wait, is that a real question, or are you mocking me?
No, but seriously, for points.
Okay.
Do you think?
So the biggest thing with the switch in the middle of, or the scale in the middle of the field, is that is points that the other alliance absolutely cannot earn.
Right.
So if you end up having a 1 or 2 cube lead on them the entire time, and they just can't break that 1 or 2 cubes there for pretty much the entire match. And I think so. I'm out here in the new Andy Mark warehouse, which has been 45 degrees the entire day, with Robot in 3 days, and they did some pretty cool calculations and figured out if you control the scale for at least a minute of the match, you are more than likely going to win that match. Just sheer number of points and everything canceling out.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Because if you think about how the points work out, that's kind of how it works. By the way, I want to say thank you to a person who just subbed to us with Twitch, Anti-Prefix. Thank you very much for subbing on Twitch. Anti-Prefix, yes. I don't know. I see what you're saying, right? But at the same time, I kind of, my gut tells me that at the same time, it's like not going to be that much different than what you would normally see, right? Like
I kind of piggyback on Francis. I'm cautiously optimistic about this game. I think this game provides a way that we haven't seen in the recent past and first. There is essentially one game element that can be used multiple ways. Not to the older games of First. I'm even thinking back to 2004. First Frenzy, there were these dodgeball type inflatable balls, and you could either shoot them yourselves into goals, you could retrieve them off of things that were falling from the air, you could score them in like low goals off the ground, you could put them in high goals, and there were a lot of different ways that you could manipulate those game elements, and it was one singular element really.
Right.
And this game, it is that way. I mean, those cubes can be put in many, many different places.
Right.
And they can be used many, many different ways. Now, the reason why I'm cautiously optimistic is, in my opinion, this game is tough to explain to somebody that doesn't understand rules. It may be obvious, like I saw Andy Baker himself tweet earlier, that it will be easy to tell which way the levers are leaning, the levers of the switch and the
scale.
I forget
Scale.
the scale thing.
the big teeter-totter.
To see that, but you won't necessarily know that means that a certain alliance is winning at that point. So yeah, I think it's a good game, but I'm waiting to see a little bit more before I make my final judgment.
Fair enough. Go ahead, Ty. Why don't you give us your thought? And by the way, in the chat, if you got thoughts on the game, why don't you post them up? I want to hear what you have to say.
So I think, for me, when it comes to explaining to this to people that don't understand, it's like, yeah, you've got the big teeter-totters in the middle, and if you possess them for more, or if you get them in your possession, then you start gaining points. And I think from there, they can just they can know that the teeter-tottering is happening, and they know the power-ups. Speaking of power-ups, I really hope that these power-ups are like lights flash and a big horn sounds, and like people use this power-up and they are ready, or like the Mario Grow sound or something like that, so that the power-ups are like kind of like a audience excitement tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I agree. Like any FRC game, it's difficult to make a game that's easy, that has never existed before, and is easy to explain to somebody, but is also complex enough to play for 9 weeks.
Yeah.
And analyze for 15. But yeah, like I'm super hyped about this game because you've got to reach down low, but you've got to reach up high. You can't reach out very far. So it's like it's got the design constraints, but you're not trying to pack a robot into a shoebox like you were last year.
Right.
Um, I think.
Can I interrupt? I want to bring up something Randomizer77 said in the chat. This game will be frustrating from the stands, watching the points of the other team slowly climb up, yelling at your driver to do something. Which is it's pretty reasonable. Like, do something. You're running out of time, right? Because that's actually my favorite thing is that you run. There is a point of no return where you'll just run out of time and there's no way you can win, right? Unlike most first games where that's that's functionally possible, but it's not explicitly allowed, right?
Yep, and there are definitely hard and fast points that you can score. So every cube that you pass through the wall to your human players is going to be, what was that, 10 points a cube?
5 points.
That you pass through the exchange? 5 points a cube
no,
that you pass through the exchange.
For passing through an exchange. It's 5 points per thing
scoring
in
the power up.
In the vault.
Yeah.
Right.
The vault. Yeah, so it's 45 points that you can get from scoring into the vault. You can get at least 15 points by crossing that line and autonomous, and you can get 30 points for, assuming you're getting the full 45 points from filling your vault, you're going to at least get 30 points from a climb at the end of the match.
Hopefully.
And then you'll get another 60 points. But there is a hard and fast limit on what you can score in this match. There is a limit.
Yeah, actually, we went out and did the math, and assuming you gain possession of all the things you can gain possession of the instant that you can, and you never lose possession, and everything else works perfectly, you can score 500 points in this game.
Not bad. It's pretty decent.
And that is like maybe 505, maybe 495, depending. Like there's some if you possess at second 0, if you possess in auto, do you get 32 points for that 15 seconds, or do you get 30 points for that 15 seconds? Stuff like that. But 500 points is a lot of points, and something to consider is if you ignore the scale entirely and only do 2 climb, or if you ignore the scale entirely and your switch doesn't get contested, then you can place 9 blocks in your power-ups, use your power-ups, then climb, and you're worth 275 points. That's more than half the points available on the field without ever considering the scale or the missed third climb.
Right. And actually, to bring up something somebody said in the chat just a second ago, and I'm going to kind of point this at Matt. So somebody in the chat, I can't find his name right now, but let's see. Oh, this is Brian 1360 asks, for an above-average resource team, is it worth going for the scale? So Matt, you're on 174, who I think probably fits in that category, right? You're not certainly not 254 level stuff, but you guys are good. You have some mentorship and some resources. So what do you guys think?
I would put us as a middle of the road team. We don't have a extreme minimal budget, but we're definitely not in the extreme resource category. We're kind of a middle of the road, trying to use what we have to our advantage type team.
Yeah.
In the past few years, we've been gradually getting better and better, and it's been really cool to be a part of that. What's interesting is that the scale is similar to Stronghold. I mean, the idea is very similar. You only have to get up a certain height. You have a limited amount of area that you can grab onto. It's tempting, but you don't know if it's a requirement. It's last year with.
I'm going to interrupt you really quick.
Sure.
Only because I think this is going to cause a lot of confusion, I can tell, for the rest of the year. So scale also means the thing in the middle that goes back and forth, not just scaling and grabbing the bar, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I got it.
So how about this? Finish answering your question, and then also answer, do you think that the teeter-totter is worth it for your team?
Sure. So it's a very similar design idea to what we saw in Stronghold. So the question for us, because we've been around then, and we haven't gotten to this point as a team, so I don't even know if we're going to decide this is where we go robot design wise, is do we use a similar system? Because we proved that we were able to successfully climb that in the Stronghold game and did it pretty well. Should we reuse that or not, depending on our strategy? The point value is weird to me because it's tempting, but it's not tempting where it has to be required.
Yeah.
So pretty much the teams that did their scoring analysis and read the rules knew within the first couple days that unless you were a top tier team, you could do pretty well without touching the fuel at all. And we were able to prove that placing 6th at Buckeye with not having any fuel mechanism on a robot at all. So this game, 90, well, it's 90 if all 3 climb. I shouldn't assume that it's 30 per robot. But 90 points, I mean, if you're talking of point values that max out around 50, a swing of 30 to 90 points, depending on how many robots do it, could decide the match.
Yeah.
The actual scale itself, the teeter-totter in the middle of the field,
Can we talk about that? About how annoying it is to like take scales and climbing and like twist them around and use them backwards.
I mean, on 190 we had a big issue even in 2015 because like our lead mentor Ken would call like the bins, the recycling containers he called the bins, which is everybody else kind of thought was like the totes, but no one could ever use the word totes and recycling containers. It was always bins or buckets or trash cans, right?
Cans.
Yeah, the cans. Yeah.
It's annoying. I mean,
so
this year there's something in the rules that is new to me, and I've been doing it since 2003. When you're putting your robots on the field this year, the order isn't red alliance has preference, then blue alliance has preference. It's red driver station 1 has first pick, then blue driver station 1 has second pick, and then it goes 2, 2, 3, 3. It's never been that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I froze. I was like, wait, what? So I mean, the very little changes from year to year really mess with your head.
Yes.
I'd like to bring up something that just kind of blew my mind that's going on in the chat right now. They're talking about the double ramp robot.
Yeah, baby.
So here's something that I hadn't thought of until I saw it in the chat, and so props to you guys for shaking my foundations on power up so early.
Should.
So the rules for climbing are that you're fully supported by the tower and you're more than 12 inches above, or fully supported by the scale and you're more than 12 inches off the ground. Yeah, or you're above those block things. And then one robot gets a free levitation. So if you build a robot that just has 2 ramps and you have robots and those ramps get your robot above the height, then nobody has to climb at all.
Right.
Correct.
So here's the thing. So the chat's saying, do you think that's going to happen? You think it's like this? Is that going to get patched out of the game? What do you guys? What's your take from first?
I think my take. Oh, you're saying if they're going to change the rule?
Yeah, I think so.
That's got to get patched early if it gets patched.
Yep.
I would prefer that it not. I would keep it. There's a lot of weird. Weird's the wrong word. There's a lot of read between the lines in this rule book, and that's one that I would keep because of the robot design. And even though that year, what year was it? I mean, you guys were on 190 that year.
Yeah, 2007.
2007.
So in 2007, that was more than, I mean, every team tried to do it, but that was really hard to do.
Yes.
I mean, there were only a few robots that, when you could build ramps on purpose, had hard times doing it. And then to have teams, most teams are not going to think to do that.
Well,
and then to do it very well is going to be even harder to do.
Well, the crazy thing, I think, is that the third robot doesn't have to be on that platform at all.
Correct.
Yep. And
No,
I
they do.
no,
happen
they-
to
they
have
have
a
to be
diagram handy
platform.
here.
They
I'm
do
gonna
have
put
to
that
be.
up to the screen.
Oh, Ruth, you froze on us, I think.
Ruth is gone. No,
Rip Ruth.
but they do have to be supported. So all 3 robots would have to be supported by the scale because something transitive property, right?
Well, yeah. The thing is, you can't expand very big unless you're on the scale and the platform, right?
No, you can be on the carpet between
Oh,
the
right.
switch and the scale, and it still pretty much counts.
The neutral zone, whatever, or the null zone. Yeah.
Yeah.
My-
No, it's called I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, I'll find
It's
it.
not the null.
Null
yeah.
sector, maybe? I don't remember. Chat, help us, please.
No,
I feel
it's
bad.
not the null one.
Okay. All right. So why?
I would like to see that stay, but I have a feeling it's not. I see the designs more going towards what I saw the engine nerds do in 2010. I think we have a picture of that somewhere.
Oh,
the-
yes, in a second.
So in 2010 Breakaway, there was this fairly small area that you could have your robot hang from to score points. I think it might have even been called scaling that year. So what the engine nerds did was they built a robot that was an exact replica of that hanging portion that you could hang from.
Yep.
So that way you were able to hang from their robot, and their robot was supported by the actual structure of the field. I would love to see somebody do that design if the strategy proves that hanging from there is worthwhile. That would be something that's neat, is that's one climb up their back, and it's exactly the same dimensions and material and all that, so it would be like doing it the same way that's already there. I don't know if it'll actually happen, but that's one of the first things I thought of when I saw that rung is so tall. We'll try to create something that they can hang from each other from.
Yeah, we got the video out there right now, by the way, everybody.
So another thing.
So from the picture, you can see how the engine nerds in that picture, Clint would be proud if he's listening somewhere, that structure looks identical to what it's hanging from. So that way a robot could come around them and just hang from their robot instead. So it'll be interesting to see if that works out.
Yeah, I think another interesting thing that I saw about climbing that completely escaped my mind just now. Oh, was basically the Hulk hang, in which you go up, somebody hooks onto you, and then you just climb for both of them. and you use there, and because one thing that I'm a little concerned about with the not concerned about, but one thing that comes to mind when you start thinking about the 2337 style hanger is a lot of teams used that back wall in 2016. They used that back wall to support their robot as they went up.
Yeah.
And if you climb first and use that back wall and another robot needs it, then you have to replicate that back wall on how to climb. Either that or their center of gravity really comes into effect.
Well, if we go down this road, let's take it one step further. Let's combine the ramp robot and the engine nerd robot. So instead you have your partners drive up your side ramps that are just flat or near flat on top of the scale, right? And then your robot is the only one that actually extends up and pulls all 3 robots up.
Right, exactly.
I mean, you would need some ridiculous torque to be able to do that, and a lot of structural integrity of your and all that. But I mean, that could be doable too. So you just do that idea, able to do the same thing. I mean, maybe we'll see it. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've got literally unlimited motors this year.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to take a look at that part. By the way, I'm going to put up a picture. Thank you to Azathoth for I always mispronounce your name, but we got a picture of 71 hanging off of 2337 here now from Chief Delphi. So we have unlimited sims too, not just unlimited everything else. We have like as many sims as we want.
Yeah, now the rule just says like Here's the list of motors. Use them in unlimited quantity.
Jesus.
You're allowed 1 PDB.
Wow, that's a lot of power. You could basically do whatever you want with that.
Yeah. But also, like, how heavy is 8 Sims?
So let's go back and talk about the other question that was phrased earlier. So we talked climbing for a bunch. The other part of that is the scale itself, putting cubes on the actual lever. Is that advantageous to do? I'm this one's tough because
Yeah,
cubes can be used in so many ways. So you can choose to, if you choose to handle cubes, you can choose to not deal with scale at all with the cube. You can choose to just push them around the floor and push them into the exchange zone. You can choose to get them from whatever the height is off the ground from the I'm forgetting what the corner areas are called.
yeah. The human players like the loading zone, basically.
Yeah, if you can choose to just get them from the loading zone and then drive them across the field and dump them somewhere, and so can do this. It's probably the hardest one are going to be the ones that are able to score the most points because they're going to be the least contested score. Especially in qualification rounds or in early weeks, I have the feeling that, or not feeling, but I have the sense that you're probably not going to be, if you're a robot that can score on that high height, it's you may not face somebody that on the opposite alliance that can also do it to the same extent that you can.
Right. That's the thing. I think that it'll be interesting to see. Like, this is where I definitely agree it's going to be blowouts. Is in the instances where one alliance has the ability to put the cubes on the scale and the other alliance does not. Right. When that happens, if you can get one cube up on that scale, the game is over. Basically, like you have to basically fight to keep their switch off of being active, and then hope that you climb and they don't. That's like almost like a desperation play for the other alliances there.
Right. And do you? I mean, if you're able to do some sort of little launch device, something or other, to just get it off your robot and into the switch, do you have a second setting that can pop it up, 5 or 6 feet higher? I mean, just to do a drive-by to get one cube up there, I mean, that one cube may sit up there all match.
Yeah.
So, even just to be able to do that drive-by and just get one up there, and then if somebody else happens to get one, you can drive by and do a second. I mean, there's a lot of strategy in this game that really different than Steamworks, because you knew that fuel would be more towards the elite side of robots.
Right.
Where this one, you'd be able to tell it that easy. Where is that line going to be? Where's the middle of the road good teams going to be? Where are the elite teams going to be? And for the teams rookie teams and ones that struggle, there's things for them to do that are definitely worthwhile and are needed for an alliance.
Yeah, and I think one of the really cool things to see when we get to like the district championship level and we see, like elite alliance going against elite alliance, is just like the back and forth of like, I'm putting a cube on and then I'm putting a cube on and then I'm putting a cube on. And then, like, how tall do you make your robot? Because it's already 6 feet tall before you already have to make your robot taller than 6 feet in order to put your first cube on. And then if you get to like a 2-stack or a 3-stack on there, you're talking like 7, 8, 9 feet tall.
All right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Super exciting, but it's still crazy.
Yeah, and this is actually, I think I've seen some people post about this on Facebook as well, that I think this is going to be, this is definitely going to be the year of in-match strategy and coaching, right? That's what's going to make this really, really exciting. Matches are going to be won and lost based on what happens in those matches. Like that's going to be pretty dope. Like seeing all these cool maneuvers happen at the last second.
Yeah, because you've got to look into how much time do you have left? Can you outscore them? Are you wasting your points, your efforts trying to get points here or there? Like, and then like it can get tricky if you try to use like your boost when you don't actually have possession of anything.
Right.
And then you don't get any points out of that. And by the way the rules are written, you could by the way the rules are written, not by the way the field tour videos go, it's theoretical that you could place your boost, they could have, the other alliance could have possession of the scale, and they could get the boosted points.
Right. That's I'm really I mean there's a little bit of a it's a little mean of me to say this, but I am very much looking forward to seeing somebody like push the button at the wrong time and give points to the other alliance. It's going to be interesting. By the way, thank you to First Updates Now. You've apparently rated our chat. Welcome. Thank you for watching GameSense. We promise our pictures are going to come up in just a second. I promise. So anyway, chat in the chat. If you're in the chat, tell us what you're most interested to see about this year's game, because we've been talking about it for a while. We want to hear what you have to say. What's going on? So
another part of the scale that's interesting is the null territories.
Okay. Yes.
Their placement really can affect the flow of how a match works, because you can be on the opposite side of your alliance station playing defense or going to grab a cube from the portals, and you can back into that area, and now all of a sudden any opposing robot coming to you has to really think about going in there, because if they go in there and touch you, you get points. So it really can affect how things flow and where robots go, and the strategy of maybe I'm not even trying to score a cube, but I'm in that area just to affect how the flow of the match goes.
Yeah.
And will we see things like the Cyber Knights in 2006, the A-bomb idea, where it's not obviously an A-bomb because you can only possess one cube at a time, but do you have somebody go to the null territory and spit it on the floor for their partner to pick up, and all of that sort of things? It's a safe area, right? So I mean, are you going to see that kind of strategy in there? I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're definitely going to see stuff like that happen at some point during the season. Everybody, by the way, we want to welcome on Steve Caneb. Steve Caneb is a friend of Ty and I's. He's a mentor on Team 190. Steve, why don't you say a few words about yourself for the folks at home, the millions watching?
No.
No?
Well,
all right, well, that was it. Thanks for
I'd
watching,
like
everybody.
Congratulations to Steve. He gets the most relaxed RoboSports Network Analyst Award.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So, Steve, why don't you give us your hot take on what on this game? What are your thoughts about it?
Well, I was really interested to hear Woody Flowers' start to everything. He kind of he's trying to push us in a certain direction with the opening to the game animation. So I want to echo some of the questions that he was asking explicitly and implicitly. What are you afraid of? Look at this game. So you're collecting but one game object. Two game objects if you consider that you're collecting the rung if you're climbing. But
Right.
if you're doing multiple tasks with one game object again, and a game object that's light, that has a surface that you're used to, you should look at it as an opportunity to stretch yourself, because it's right in the rules. If you want to do spectacularly at this game, your robot is going to have to do something different and autonomous match to match. The best robots last year didn't do something different match to match, except for left to right. But based on what the field is telling your robots now, your robot should be out there driving, doing different stuff. And that's pretty exciting to see, because I've been pretty bored with the idea that these are robots.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting to see, and I think it's also like in hinging, and let's talk about ranking points. Hinging the ranking points on the fact that all three robots crossed the auto line and you got possession of your switch, I think is a great idea, because
Hopefully.
it forces those it forces those elite teams that say like we definitely want to rank high, we need to get as many ranking points as possible, to like go 2 or 3 matches ahead and be like, hey, can you drive forward an auto? Let me help you.
Right. Yes. Hopefully, people are going to help each other. The awkward part is when you get into situations where there's a lot of teams that maybe don't have the resources to be able to get their alliance partners to do it. Right. But I think what Steve was motioning with his index finger was that, correct me if I'm wrong, you could push him across the line, right? You could nudge
No,
him.
that's not what I was saying at all.
No. Okay. What was that? What was that maneuver?
There was the Baby Cobra Strike Team.
Oh yeah, the Baby Cobra Strike Team. Yeah, that's
So
true.
in 2009, we found 190 found ourselves in an interesting position for us because our robot wasn't breaking, so we just had people in the pits doing nothing.
By the way,
So
that's a very rare occurrence.
We were
for
finally
us.
the team that went around and aided others, and it was a Cobra goat that year. So our strike team, Baby Cobra.
And then 254 won their 2014 World Championship because they were able to rank number 1 because they had a crew that just went out and was like, you were on our alliance in 2 matches. Can you help us with assists? No? Cool. Here's some bungee cord and some spandex. Let's get this done.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that was a great game, everybody. Everybody loves 2014. Such a great robot game. You know, with the robots that definitely did all the work.
not the human players, but who's asking? Probably Steve. So, by the way, everybody, I got some pictures coming up on the screen. These are pictures I took at Kickoff today. Let me know if there's anything particular you want to see on the stream, and we'll put that up there. But I'm just going to page through them as we go. So, yeah, actually, the other ranking point thing is the triple climb, right? So, I think that you're going to see a lot more. This is maybe not as many people as last year who climbed, but you're going to see a lot of teams climbing this year compared to what we saw last time. You had to grab a bar and pull yourself up, because if you think about it thoroughly, this should be worth like tons and tons and tons of points to you to be able to climb and get, or at least get everybody up off the ground, right?
Yeah, but it's really hard.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I'm on the side of, I think the tiebreakers are going to be more important than your ranking points.
Okay.
I see a lot of just 2 ranking points for the win and 0 for the loss this year. I would say that for at least for the first week or 2, I guess. And being that the teams that are able to do one of those things, whether all 3 teams happen to cross the line and you get a cube scored in auto or you get the climb, those matches aren't going to be as prevalent. So the ones that do get that ranking point is going to cause those teams to place higher. It's just not as easy to get ranking points this year as it has been in the past.
That's true.
And I think that's good. Because
yeah, and I'm fine with that too.
I think it's like in 2016 you had to average, like, come the district championship, you had to average like 3.8 or 3.9 ranking points per match in order to rank number 1. And the same started happening at the end of 2017, as you had to get your, it was a lot harder to get the 40 kPa, but now I think like both the climbs and the auto, as Steve just starts playing with a knife, both the climbs and the auto are like as hard as the KPA is to get.
Yeah, that's true.
Sure, but have you guys talked yet about the ranking points disappearing?
No? How did ranking points disappear?
Well, so last year, the ranking point associated with 4 rotors in playoffs turned into 100 points. And the ranking point associated with pressure turned into 20 points in playoffs. And this year, they turned into nothing.
Yes.
So how does that affect your strategy? How much do you know that you're going to be in playoffs? How much do you care about your ranking, considering that your ranking can be torpedoed by somebody not crossing an auto line? And do you just become a chaos engine? And you say, I don't care where I rank. I'm just going to destroy everything once we start playing for real.
Ugh. Well, I don't think that's gonna really happen. I think that you're still gonna see good teams rank high because at the end of the day, the best way to get ranking points is by scoring matches or by winning matches. And you're right. I think your ranking's gonna get.
I did not hear a single word of that.
Really? Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're getting something weird with your mic there, buddy.
Oh, sorry.
It's
about
like you're using 8-bit compression or something.
It's thematic.
it's on theme, everybody. Okay.
Yeah, where's Big Wig?
Yeah, right. Is it better now or?
Nope.
Well, no, it's not. I'll continue talking while you continue fixing. So I think like,
Nah.
yeah, they disappear, but it's just like they're really hard tasks that get you a ranking point and help you rank, and then you're gonna need to do them in order to score as many points as possible come eliminations anyway.
Yeah.
You're gonna want you're gonna want the 90 points of climbs. You're gonna want the possible 30-ish points of possessing and the 15 points of crossing the auto line. When you get to the high scores, those, sure, they're bonuses, but even if there weren't bonuses before, if there weren't bonuses in 2017, it would have changed the balance of fuel versus gears. But here, there's only one game element. So what balance do you have to affect with bonuses?
Yeah, I would agree with you, Ty. There's still things that need to be accomplished to score higher than the other alliance. We were talking on Slack earlier, the Robo Sports Network people, and it may not be that easy if you're able to dump a cube onto your Switch in autonomous. Those points are already starting to add up, and it's going to take time for the opposite alliance to even get over with a cube to try and counteract that. So you're already gaining those points right off the bat, even if you're not getting the ranking point for it or not. And then at the same time, your alliance has to figure out how to counteract what they just did, which is probably the same thing. So will those points end up out? I don't know, but it's the points that are important. I mean, the only part that, as I think about it, the only part that the opposing alliance doesn't have direct effect of or can directly affect is getting the cubes into not the retrieval zone, the
Vault.
Exchange. Play defense in that area for 5 seconds at a time. So getting cubes in there might be the only way that you aren't defended as much. I don't know. But that's another place to put the cubes in.
Right, exactly.
So,
am I sounding more human now? No?
No, you're still cutting out, Francis.
What the heck? Criminy. Fine. I guess I'll just...
But you know what I'm saying? It may come down to tit for tat a lot of the times. Where we get our cube dumped on our Switch and it's starting to rack up. So is the other side. We both race to try and stop each other's Switches. And what do you do from there? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, all right. So is there like a purely defensive strategy or a mostly defensive strategy that could be viable here? Because it's like, is it just score as many points as possible, score the most points like last year? Or could there be a get your Switch going and then defend it at all costs and don't let them get the scale going?
That's where. Go ahead, Steve. Okay. That's where I'm on Steve's side. The robot that I see does not care about ranking at all. The robot that I see that does that would be the one that basically is a nuisance bot in the exchange zone all match, and then in the end game is the one who's up and is able to have two robots hanging off of it. What, not guaranteed, but you know what I'm trying to say, to be able to get those points at the end. That's really the only thing that I was able to come up with off the bat.
So the sequential points, the points that keep tallying up from the switches and the scale, those become less valuable those those become less valuable relative to the fixed bonus points of the levitation, the climbing, and the cubes that are in your vault. If you keep everything low, then you raise the value of climbing. If it's a high-scoring match, then climbing becomes less of a differentiator. But so thinking about defense in this game, one of the rules that is important to take note of is your robot size this year. So your 33 by 28 is a max starting frame parameter, plus 16 inches in all directions. And there are 6 of you. And there are 3 gigantic structures on the field. And there are 4 protected zones. How easy is it to get around to affect the match?
Well, Steve,
do you want to just be in one place?
Back in my day, Steve, that's how we used to do everything. Everybody's robot was huge, and you always go around the field. And
back in Francis's day, everybody talked at like 28.8 kbps.
So if it makes you feel better, the stream
nobody can understand you.
No, the stream can hear me
clear.
fine. The stream can hear me fine. It's just got to be our audio application. So
Actually, Francis is just practicing for his best impersonation of a dial-up modem.
yes.
That's what we're hearing.
Okay. All right. So Evan Evan in the chat asks, how often do you guys think the nylon's gonna get punctured? That's on the top of those crates.
Yeah. So it's a milk crate inside the cubes, which I think is a great idea in terms of sourcing. There's like a bajillion milk crates out there. And if you go to your local Shaw's, you can probably find some and pick some up for cheap. And
What is a Shaw?
Grocery store.
What is a Shaw? Grocery store.
Oh, okay.
Grocer's Mart.
Yes, or if
You
you
know,
go to
take
if you go to Price
your old
Chopper.
folks home.
Yeah, you go to Price Chopper or Piggly
What is
Wiggly.
a Shaw?
No,
What is
Okay.
this Shaw you speak of?
All right.
Um,
Let's check it because in Central New York we don't have a Shaw
yeah.
Price right.
or
So-
a rickshaw. I don't think I've seen any of those around either.
Yeah, it's too cold.
So
Anyway.
I think it's a great idea because you can get them readily. They're durable. You're probably not going to break. Like, you're probably going to very rarely break a milk crate. Then the interesting part that comes through though is like, yeah, there's an open top there, and they just zipped over some fabric about it. So if you've got some robots that are clamping onto it or something like that, yeah, it could get damaged, but I don't think anybody should just go around stabbing the top of the cubes.
Well, yes, I agree with that.
Stabby.
I think that
So I'm
this-
going to call the trackball material zip over hoodie pullover thing. Those are ponchos, the yellow part that goes around the milk crate. I want everybody to call them ponchos because that's what I thought of first. So it's trackball material. It's the same stuff that they had on the 2014 balls, and yeah, you're gonna pull it around edges, so it's gonna develop the same like corner tears that you'd expect, like the ones that you'd get next to the zipper when you were hitting it with something hard or spinning your wheels against it. But I'm not especially worried about punctures because there's so much give in the entire milk crate that the whole covering can just kind of push down into its extra space.
yeah.
Mhm.
You'd need a lot of your 6-inch extension to actually puncture the fabric, I think. But that being said, I think you're going to see
Yeah.
a non-trivial amount of it. What were you going to say, Matt?
So, I'm not sold on the cubes. Yes, I agree that it adds. There's a lot of positives to it. It just, like, I expected when they opened it up and showed you on the video, like it to be something else. I don't know. It just has a feeling of just not well done. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like I could see a lot of tearing, like what Steve was saying. I see maybe, and I know it's part of the design, right? You have one side missing, so you're gonna have teams with the roller wheels to intake it, and it has problems because there's nothing there for it to intake with because there's no solid edge, and you're going to have those types of issues. But I don't know. I expected something more quality, or I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. It left me going, oh.
Well, because you saw the
I'll-
field without knowing there was a milk crate in there, and then eventually you were told it was a milk crate. It's like, oh, word, okay.
Very eloquent, Francis. I'll defend them because it's been pretty much every year except like 2015 that the game piece could be cheaper, and it might be nicer for teams if the game piece is just buy to get to actually play with. Because if these were whatever 13-inch foam cubes, each one of those would probably be $150,000 to $30,000, right? Because they're custom.
Somewhere
So-
within that range.
One would hope, but I guess the reason that I'm not especially worried about the milk crates being flimsy is that I see that as a design feature. I think that they should take the opportunity to bend out of the way of marauding robots.
Yeah, and to make that they're not actual cubes and they have a floppy top. Floppy top. To so to like that's just it's a design choice and it's a puzzle that you have to solve, and like it's for me I think it's a good game piece. I would have if I were to have anything nitpicky about it, I would have preferred a less flappy jacket for it. Like if there was any way that they could make it fit tighter and zip up tighter, then I'd be cool. But like I think it's cool that it's not just like pick up this perfect cube and place it over here and then we'll have nap time and sing Kumbaya.
Yeah, that is pretty neat. That it's a little, you have to put a little bit more thought into it. But at the same time, I totally agree with you, Matt, to a certain extent that it's like if they came at the beginning and said these are milk crates in bags, I think your mindset would be a different place than here is this cube. It's not actually a cube. Also, it's not really even solid. You know, kind of just slowly backing their way from left to right on it. But
Hey, where's that cube video?
it's on the internet. Just search for cube. If you're watching the stream right now, by the way, this picture I have up is from the Kickoff. Milkcratesdirect.com is the boxes they were loading the milk crates into. So I don't know if I have no idea what they're pricing or whatever it is. But
can required watching of all people allowed to watch R-rated videos be the cube?
yes, sure.
Because
I don't know if it's even.
Yeah,
I don't even think it's R-rated. I think it's definitely a PG rating, but
it's PG.
There's no cussing in it.
I don't think we're talking about the same movie. Some guy gets cut into cubes.
Okay, that's not the same thing for sure. Okay.
It's a horror movie, yeah.
Okay,
called
that's not.
Cube.
We're talking about the Team 190 video, Cube. By the way, Matt, I apologize in advance for completely leaving you out of this conversation because we were talking about an inside joke that only about three of us know. But anyway, so I want to take a second to talk not about the game specifically, but more on like the robots. I want to talk a little bit more about the robots. What do you guys think we're going to see? Steve, I know that you've been working on some stuff. I have it up. Do you want me to show everybody what Team 190's been prototyping? I have it ready to go.
Yeah, you can link to that thread, I guess.
No need to link, baby. We're going live on stream right now.
Ugh.
So, Steve, do you want to talk about the robot in 30 minutes?
Well, okay. I sent some of our younger mentors off to follow in our path because 4 years ago we made a robot in 30 minutes out of we spliced together two different robots and pushed a trackball through the goal. And since two different people messaged me today before I got home from Kickoff saying, you guys should just build the Goat Dactyl again, our 2007 robot that lifted other robots for points. We just made that, held it up with an engine hoist and put robots on top of it.
Yes. It's up on the screen now if you want to see. This is a completely legitimate questionably legal tactic that we're going to see play out this year. You heard it here first. 290's reveal happened right here, day 0, 30 minutes under or less. Ready for you guys. But so let's about robots more specifically though. Let's talk a little bit about what do you think the kind of mechanisms you're going to see on these robots? Like Matt, what is the first thing you thought of when you saw this game and you're like, how does my robot do this game?
So my mind always goes to the type of team that I'm on. So
Right.
the type of team that I'm on, as I've described before, we're kind of a middle team. We're not an elite team. We're not a rookie or a team with limited funding. We're in the middle and we try to maximize our resources. So knowing that that's the kind of team we are, I always do my best to, as what Karthik has said and what good engineers do, to design within our limits, right? So I always look for what are the things that we need to make sure that we do, and what are the things that, because of trying to maximize our resources, what are the things that we may not do in order to do those small amount of things really, really, really well.
Right.
So last year, as the people in this chat know, we early on we decided to not touch fuel until we were really happy with our gear runner and climber robot. And we ended up putting a fuel dumping mechanism on or one of our competitions, and found out we shouldn't have even worried about it and just had more driver practice, and we ended up placing, I think it was 6th at Buckeye, our second competition, just doing that. Really maximize our potential. So this game comes out, and my initial gut reaction is maybe we just worry about climbing and making sure we can get our partners up and just get those 90 points. So that's what's in my head, right? But I'm working with my kids. We're part of the Northeast this winter, and this week has not been nice to us. Our school canceled all of our activities for the weekend. So I've been at my house all day, and we did a Google Hangout, read the rules with as many of the kids that could show up as possible.
Nice.
So it was actually really cool to have a Slack conversation and Google Hangout going, and the kids were all engaged. It was pretty cool. But anyway, so that's what pops in my head is get the climb, be a good climber, make sure partners can hang off me. And that's why I brought up the Engineered's robot from 2010 earlier. That's what popped in my head. So then we start reading the rules, and I'm realizing that the cubes are more of a point potential than the climb is. So then I'm like, oh, but at the same time, for a middle of the road team like ours, those 90 points, or I should say 30 to 90 points, could swing matches. So I don't really know what we should do.
Yeah.
Like, and then there, not only do you decide to do cubes or not do cubes, but you can decide to do cubes, but only be really good at putting them in the exchange zone, or really good at doing in the swing, to do cubes in all parts of the field. So I think the designs are going to be all over the place based on what happens. I could see this game turning into, and this is what concerns me, turning into, because there's so many things that could be built, I'm worried that it's going to go back to when the robot in 3 days originally started, when you start to see 3 or 4 different designs and only those. And that's what happened the first couple of years of robot in 3 days. Because you can go all over the place, the designs that are shown to be successful early on, people might try to recreate more. I guess my head's all in a fog. Like, I don't really know the answer to your question.
That's all right.
I thought I had an idea, and then I read the rules more and realize that the middle of the road teams that try and do good at 1 to 2 things really well, like, there's not a set to find that with this game, or at least we haven't been able to find one yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
What about you, Ty? I know that you tend to immediately think like robots and designs. Where does your mind take you?
So, robots and designs, Oh, we're not talking strategies here?
Well, we
Oh,
talked about
boy.
strategy for like an hour. Let's talk a little bit more about what the robots might look like.
All right. I think you're going to see 2011, 2015, and 2016 all had this like beautiful, beautiful baby. And that like arms and elevators from 2011 in that they can reach high and low. 1503's robot is going to see a lot of attention in that simple single arm design. You're going to 2168 like friggin' just close their eyes and threw a dart and hit the bullseye because they did an off 2168 that's not in a year. In their off-season project this year, they made a robot that can be used for pick and place operations. And then there's a YouTube video on Chief Delphi if you want to see if you can pull it up or something.
Sure.
They made a prototype robot that has an arm for pick and place operations, and then can also hang. And it's just like they were just like, yeah, we think the game's gonna be this, and then they were like, got it. All right, see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But to refocus, I think you're going to see a lot of arms and elevators taken from the 2011. I think you're going to see a lot of climber ideas taken from 2016, like the 148 or 330 climber might be popular, and that you can climb up and out of the way and have somebody else climb under you. And then the 2015 collectors, I think you're going to see a lot of those in trying to get the totes.
All right, fair enough.
There you go.
Yeah,
So
I would agree with that.
Before you start though, Matt, can I just really interrupt real quick? Someone in the chat mentioned, and we'll go right back to you. This is an important question. Do you feel that the weather or the fact that the Bills have made the playoffs is a bigger threat to having your kids show up? Because they'll be at home watching the game instead.
I don't think that was the case.
Okay.
But my kids, yes, there are some sports fans, but
They're cut from
we
a different
love
cloth.
robots.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry
Yeah,
about
and it's funny the other part I forgot is so we're in Syracuse. We're like in between New York and Buffalo. So there's just as many diehard Giants fans and Jets fans up here are Buffalo fans.
Wow.
And it's really funny teaching middle school kids, really funny watching them argue during the day.
Oh man, so like one third is really, really sad. 1/3 has been really, really sad for a really long time, and then the Bills fans are just going berserk, huh?
Yep.
Steve, I know you're not you tend to stay away from robot designs initially. What are your thoughts though? Do you have any thoughts about what you're going to see with robots?
I would be ecstatic to see multiple robots that look identical except for their overall size. And just, this is the year, more than any year, to say, well, to heck with it. We'll just make the first thing that we can and fine-tune our autonomous so that it can actually go to the correct platform every time.
That's true.
Because it's fine. It's a simple game object. It's straightforward. There's only one of them, so if you want to do the scale, the platform, or the vault, the exchange station, you're just messing with the same thing at different heights. And I mean, I'd like to see some teams bring back some 2004 strategies, because you had to put the kickballs into the human player station for them to be scored.
Right.
And that's the same thing you're doing with the totes and that little conveyor belt ramp thing.
Yeah.
I'd like you all to take heart in taking risks, and the risk is saying, I'm going to make a robot identical to this other robot because I want to actually control something, rather than have a half mechanically finished something with a quarter finished controls.
So this is going to sound really weird. What you're saying is that you can take a risk by playing it safe, like extremely safe.
No.
Strategic risk by playing the design safe.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's a good way to put it.
You say that we are going to be one of the worst possible mechanical designs. The worst possible mechanical design that can technically complete the tasks. And we're going to make up that difference and shoot past all the rest by having controls. So, what most World Championship robots have been.
It's true.
Just an idea. Maybe there's something to like kicking the butt of every FRC strategist by just saying, no, everything is set up so that you actually do something smart for once.
Right. I mean, I remember we won the World Championship, Chief, with our killer autonomous mode.
Hey, that worked.
It
drove
worked.
4 feet backwards.
It worked every
most
time
of the time.
except quarterfinal match 1. But anyway, yeah.
So can I piggyback off Steve?
Absolutely. He's not that strong, so be careful.
Okay. So to piggyback off Steve, where maybe you work on a robot that just does that autonomous really well, I think you're going to see robots that are tiny. They're box robots. The cube sits on the top of the robot, and all they do is dump into the switches, and they're at the height where they can run all the way across the field and get to the portal, and the cube will, again, somehow, whether it's with rollers or whatever, some sort of holder ramp on the top of the robot, they'll be able to get the cubes and run them back across really fast. And all like the 148 Cooler 9 Nonagon, whatever it was, robot in 2008, where it does that. Now, here's the other thought with that robot. So the other thought is that robot can argue that I can take care of my climb without climbing. I can guarantee you that I will get my 3 cubes in the exchange zone as I climb. So my robot will have a climb every match. So even though I'm not the one doing the work, I still can get my own climb.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think you may see that design out there where teams will say, well, I can guarantee my climb without doing that effort, and I can be a fast robot that deals with cubes except for the scale element, the teeter-totter up there, and you go with that. Now, depending on the design of the small robot, and maybe it's a robot that has a flipper to let go of that cube onto the switch, maybe teams would be able to push themselves, like what Steve was saying, and be able to have a 2-stage flipper like we talked about before, that maybe they would get lucky and have a flipper that had enough force that their second force of the flipper would be high enough to get it up to the switch for a random chance that they got those points too. I don't know, but you might see some really low compact robots that are able to do a lot of it.
Yeah, I for me, my bet is I'm hoping to see the return of roller claws. People doing, maybe not necessarily like we saw in 2011, but people just like dumb things that go out there and just roll and pick. What do you laugh about, Steve? What do you get? What do you?
What year did we miss out on roller claws?
Every year that, well, okay,
because it wasn't 2017 and it wasn't 2016.
No, I mean,
and it wasn't 2015.
You're talking about,
and it wasn't 2014.
So,
and it wasn't 2013. And it wasn't 2012.
I think
and it wasn't 2011.
I think, Steve, there's a distinct difference between a roller pickup and a roller claw, right? Like maybe
like the pink classic roller claw.
Right. Yes. Not necessarily a collector, right? Like what you and I would call that a collector, but a roller claw is something that you articulate up and down, kind of like most 2011 robots, right? Because I think that design is like proven. It's known. There's plenty of CAD out there. You can do it. You can put it together basically with. I mean, there are pictures on the VexPro website of people using VersaPro chassis and brackets to put that together, right? You could put that bad boy together in 72 hours, no problem, of work time. Like, you could make that robot and do really well with it, I think. Especially with all the COTS options for elevators. Go ahead, Matt.
I see a comment in the chat from B. DeRose. He says, what happens if there's 2 robots that do that? So this would be a situation where the team or the robot I'm referring to probably doesn't care where they are in eliminations, knowing that an alliance that needs that is going to pick them.
Right.
So, yes, I agree that if you have multiple teams that are box robots, that's not good in qualifications at all. I mean, it's good in the sense that you're gonna get your vault filled, but it may not win you the match.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you make a robot, like if you just don't care about climbing and you don't care about the scale, and you make a robot that can fill the vault and manage possession of yours, I think that's a very manageable approach that could have a very strong impact on the game, and could be something like like the Gearbot of 2017, where you needed it to get those base points, but then you needed the 254s or the 1678s or the 973s in order to get you over the top like that.
Right.
Where you've got the grunt workers that just they fill the vault and they manage the possession of the switch, and then there's the elite teams that get you up and over the top.
Right. That's true. And the other thing is that, I mean, I like that concept of that robot. I think that you're going to see a lot of them. I'll be surprised if I see any robots that are like that on Einstein. Okay, no, that's not true. There's tons of Einstein teams these days. I'll be surprised if I see more than a couple of those on Einstein. I think that playing with the Switch is going to be one of those things that will win you championships, but it's not required to win a regional or district, right? If you can be good enough at excuse me, when I say I meant scale, not Switch. If you can play the Switch, but you can't play the scale, and you can get yourself the cubes into your power ups, I think you guys are right. You'll find success. You may not make it all the way to the world championship, but I'll take a couple banners. That's pretty cool, right?
That gets you to the world championship.
That's true. It gets you there. You may not be guaranteed a win, but
right.
I would say most teams don't plan on winning the world championship, right? That's the fact of life, right? So.
Yeah, and I think an important thing. Oh nope! I used to think an important thing, and then it just fell out of my head. So
womp womp.
I'll go find it.
Yes.
Be right back.
All right. So something I want to bring from the chat. So this is a question: does the highest? So do high level teams? Do they have 2 ramps, and they pick their partners up, or does it have a rung that the robots attach to? Which strategy do you think those high level teams go for? Steve, what are your thoughts?
Neither.
Neither? Okay, interesting. What do you think they do? Do they care about hanging, or do they just assume that their other partner can hang on top of them?
I mean, you need 2 robots to hang every match, unless you need those 3 cubes for something else.
Uh-huh.
Oh, so you're saying then they won't have 2 ramps, but they'll have 1 ramp?
I don't even know that. Like, simplify the problem by examining the rest of the game. And why would you have 3 robots climb when you can have 1 robot down on the ground still putting cubes where they need to go?
Well, but if you
but that's not what it's saying. Like, if the elite teams that have the engineering ability to guarantee the 3 climbs, whether that's through the power up or not, and it will be because they're the elite teams and they're not silly.
Yeah.
So how will the elite teams bring themselves and 1 other robot and manage that dual climb on the tower?
Oh.
Yeah. I think I don't necessarily disagree with you though, because I think that you'll see some teams that are like, well, we'll just assume our partner's going to get up, right? You'll see those teams that do that, and they have a lot of success in like eliminations, right? But you're going to have to literally carry yourself to guarantee the number 1 seed, right? So these are teams that are kind of like 254. I think 254 is going to want some way to guarantee themselves the 1 seed. And the easiest way they can do that is to guarantee that you get the levitate and then haul your partner up with you. So I think 254 will have a ramp. I think you'll find other teams that just have a bar like Matt's been thinking about. I think you'll see teams like 118. One team will probably tow people up, but maybe like 973 or 1678, they'll have a bar that somebody else hangs onto to make it easier if it's a challenge.
I disagree.
Oh, you do? Okay, cool. What do you think?
I think that you will see that design, but I think the elite teams want to go with the solutions that present the most success percentage. So what I mean by that is you're probably going to get a more success percentage having a wall fall down on the side of your robot that your partner can just drive up, and then you pull both of you up at the same time. Then you're worrying about your own robot pulling both of you, then you getting up, hoping your partner drivers don't freak out and they can get on you and pull themselves up. I think you'll see more of those from the elite teams because those probably will have a higher percentage of success.
But I guess I think you're right. But my reason I went the other way is because that adds a lot of complexity in certain areas, right? Like that drives your design to other places, right? And
Sure.
I think that like 254 will basically plow through it, but a team like 1678 will take a more nuanced approach and say we could do that, but let's do this instead and be awesome at other stuff. That's my thought though. But I think you're fair. Steve, what were you thinking?
So, so what if your climber aid device is your robot gets up on the bar pretty high, and then deploys a Velcro strap upon which
Oh no!
perhaps somebody could use a design from recent years to winch and ratchet themselves up.
Cheesecake.
Oh my god!
Have last year's
Are you for
Velcro
real?
wrapped rod.
Are you for real, my dude?
I mean,
I hate you and I love
We
you.
Steamworks now.
Poor Ken, no.
Poor kid,
What-
why?
what, you know, Hanging on rungs, you gotta like carefully position your hook. Whatever problems you have are compounded. But teams kind of figured out how to climb last year.
Now, for as goofy as it sounds,
It's a great preface to anything
Yeah.
that's response to me.
I think that there's going to be teams that know who's going to be at their event, and there's going to be a lot of talks during build season. There's going to be a lot of, hey, we're trying to get number one seed, and we know you are too. Why don't we figure out how we can both climb together? And I think there's going to be a lot of those talks. In Stronghold, you didn't need to because there were three. There were three places to grab, so everybody had their own and that kind of thing. I really do think that those conversations are really going to happen. I mean, if you want to be successful and you know which teams are typically successful at your event, why wouldn't you at least ask the question?
Yeah, no, it's true. I think you like we did this in 2007. We were the one seed on Newton going into Saturday, and Saturday morning in the pit we had a parade of teams come by and just see how they went up the ramps. You know, can you drive up them? Can you when you go up top? Can we fire them? Do they work well? I think you're definitely going to see that. You're definitely going to see people are going to bring mock climbing bars to their pits and have them ready for people to test climbing off themselves on. For sure.
Yeah, I think so we've been talking about climbing a lot, but
Yeah.
I think a interesting question that came from the chat from Pain Train 422 is how many power cubes will a regional winning alliance score in a match? And after clarification, we went with like in week 1, and then let's compare that to what we think week 6 will look like.
So this is the whole alliance?
Yeah, like a regional winning alliance in week 1 versus a regional winning alliance in week 2.
Cubes scored or total points?
How many cubes scored?
Cubes, yeah. I think that they will score 2 more than the finalist team.
You.
No, but I think the raw
It's
number.
all relative.
Yes, it's true. I think the raw number you'll see is probably like between the whole alliance, you'll probably see in week 1. I'm gonna say 13 to 14, 5. Okay, 13 to 14. Week 6, you're gonna see 16 to 20. That's my guess, and that's going off of the idea that most average robots do 3 cycles, and good robots do more. And as the season goes on, you get more good robots.
Whew. Are you working 3 cycles per match based on like last year's gear cycling?
I mean, last year's gear cycling and also like frisbee cycles from 2013 and a bunch of
But-
other things.
So
but-
here,
Because
But
the
a
issue,
big difference.
so before I'm gonna let you finish, but the thing is that the hardest part is picking up the piece, right? Moving to the position is the easy part, but picking up the piece and being able to accurately deploy it is the hardest thing for every team. And whether it's close to you or far away, that doesn't change the challenge.
but it does change the challenge. Close
Okay.
to or far away. Well, close to or far away may not change how hard it is to pick it up and acquire it, but the fact that you only have to go like 5 feet score, you only have to go 5 feet because you have a guaranteed pile of 10 cubes directly in front of your exchange tube that the other alliance can't touch.
Yes, but I guess I don't want to be like I don't think you understand what I'm saying, but I don't think you understand what I was saying, right? Like cycles don't take long because you have to go the entire length of the field, right? Cycles take a long time because most teams can't pick up the pieces. So whether the piece is right in front of their face or 50 feet away, it doesn't matter because that's the hardest part for teams. That's my thought.
Well, but we didn't see that last year. Almost all the time, not almost all the time in the cycle, but a significant part of every cycle was the driving. So you
Or-
saw
The other thing,
you saw like easier matches for teams when the other alliance was like throwing gears at them from their player station, and they were just not leaving their airship and putting them up. And now the whole game's like that for early weeks.
you got to remember too, this game has a lot more things to drive around. You're like the frisbee year and last year, it was an open field for most of it, and there were some spots that were hard to see, but it was pretty well open field. You looking at the field, I don't know if you can pull that diagram up from the manual
Absolutely.
or not, but
Yeah.
you're in order to do a cycle, and if the opposing team is in the null territory, you could be doing a huge U shape around everything for every cycle. So it could cycles will take a long time. Not a long. I mean, I'm probably over exaggerating, but they're going to be slower than in the recent past.
So
I do agree with Steve and Ty that the area that's protected, that power cube zone, I think the good teams will get that they need to get rid of those cubes into the exchange zone as fast as they possibly can before defense hits them.
So I think, so my take on the number of cubes for a regional winning alliance in week 1 is anywhere between 7 to 10.
Okay.
So, and my reasoning being, if we ignore the scale because it's hard, and it's week 1, then and just go with me on that one for now. If we ignore the scale, then you don't need to you don't really need to use you can't use the boost, right? You can't use the boost for the scale, which means you only need 1 cube to get
Right.
that boost. Then you only need 2 cubes to get the possession power up, because you're basically going to assume, since you're only focusing on your switch, you're going to assume that you already have that possession, so then you can force the scale, and then you'll use your 3 cubes for getting your guaranteed climb. So that's 6, and then maybe 4 or 5 more to guarantee that you maintained possession of your switch, and you've got like 6 to 10, 6 to 12.
Okay, that's true. I think that teams that win regionals are gonna use the switch though. Excuse me, use the scale. I think that they may
In
not-
week 1.
In week 1, yes. I think that
I
you what?
I agree with Francis. I think you're going to see maybe 1 or 2 cubes on the scale. It's going to be enough that those are being accrued for somebody. It's not going to be pretty, but I think in finals, up there.
Maybe I'm thinking of different events, but early weeks, I think that you're gonna. I think that a reasonable, like semifinals or more, alliance is going to be scoring in the neighborhood of 18 to 26 cubes per match
In week one?
in week one. Because you start with cubes. There are cubes all right next to all your scoring areas, and you want 45 points just from putting cubes in the vaults, regardless of the power up status.
That's true, I suppose. That's
And it's so I will. One of the things that was bugging me a little bit about the comparison between climbing this year to climbing or scaling in 2016 at Stronghold
Mhm.
is it was generally accepted, or it was expressed very often, that climbing that you're scaling was too hard. And I've heard that certain aspects of different games were too hard. And I believe that the only thing that has tied all of these too hard pieces of games together is that they weren't worth it.
Yeah.
The hard thing is just difficult, but you overcome that because you have to, because it's. And then you don't talk about how hard it was because you solved it.
Yeah.
But the things that you never did, you say it was too hard to do. But what you're really saying was it wasn't worth the effort. And so what's worth the effort in this game? What sensors do you need? What feedback are you getting from the field, and how are you using it to make your alliance get you all the points that you need to win?
Yeah. And my take on that is that you do need to do the switch, right? I think that, like,
The scale?
excuse me, the scale. You're right. God, I'm really messing that up. The scale, and the only reason I'm willing to say that is because I think the first has changed from when we were in high school, right? When we were in high school, we could expect that, we'll say, the bottom 40 percentile of teams, from 40% down to all the way to the bottom, couldn't do the hardest task on the field with any strength of success at all, right? Or maybe not the hardest task. They couldn't do, like, the highest. We'll call it the high goal, whatever the high goal was that year. They couldn't do it, right? I think that because of the proliferation of YouTube, the internet, like CAD sharing, COTS parts, that I think that building a robot that can pick up a cube and put it on the Switch is not easy, but it is attainable for probably, I would say, 85% of teams in first. They may not do it quickly, they may not do it well, but I think they can do it. Even with just a gripper claw, I think that technology is available to teams. Especially with, like, Robot in 3 Days, right? We'll see what they come up with. But if their robot can do the switch, can do the scale, go ahead, Matt.
But most a high percentage of first doesn't even know what Robot in 3 Days is.
Probably true.
So I agree with you. When we were in high school, I had, at the competitions I went to in high school, there was a quarter of the teams that struggled to drive around because there was a sort of solid drive base option. I think it was 2005 Andy Mark came out with their first drive base. See some improvement then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. I think that rookie teams will be able to create a robot that can drive and push cubes. Hopefully, we don't know yet because we haven't been on a real field. I know Ty and Francis have. Hopefully, be able just to push a cube in the exchange zone, into that portal or whatever it's called. And hopefully then the level up from that would be able to get a cube off the ground and into the switch, or I should say, or just get a cube from the portal area on the far side of the field, just have it sit on your robot somehow and dump it into the switch.
Yeah.
I even see that being an advantage to an alliance because you're on the opposite side of the field. So to counteract, you get a cube from the portal, dump it in a switch, and just run very short cycles back and forth to even that out. So
when I was playing on the field, and Ty, you can back me up. putting the cube into the player station wall through the exchange is actually not. It's fairly easy, but it's not super easy because the lip at the little ramp there doesn't allow you to just simply push it in. You have to do something to elevate it like a quarter or a half an inch up off the ground.
Yeah, it's I'm going to be posting a Google Photos album on Chief Delphi later on tonight, with all my interaction videos or with rather my videos of other people interacting with the field. And yeah, it's true. Like there was, yeah, they were there and they were shoving it and they were trying to shove it on the ground into there, and it wasn't going up and on top of that ramp. So you'll have to pick it up a little bit and take it off the ground a little so that it's not fully, fully supported by the carpet. But it's not as small of a target or as hard to see of a target as the pegs.
That's true.
If you ask me.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these robots are probably, like you might have less margin of error, but like there was some pretty accurate driving that had to be done to put a gear on a peg.
Yeah.
And you don't have to travel the full field to get your gears. Yeah, I think we might be in for a surprise here the more I think about it, I think we might be in for a surprise in that, like, we go to week one, like 319 went to week one in 2017 and just got blown away by a robot that got 4 rotors almost every match.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh,
oops,
okay, focus on that, get epically good at it, and there you go.
Yeah.
And I don't know if 4 rotors as achievable as the 275 or so points you can get by trying to do everything but the scale.
Yeah. I mean,
so I want to clarify some of my earlier comments about the minimum capabilities of a robot, because I see the minimum capabilities as being able to get cubes into the scale, the switch, and the exchange thing, and being able to get to contribute the what is requisite to get the most points from the fighting the boss, or whatever the phrase is for that. Because I don't see a difference between a mechanism that can manipulate cubes and a mechanism that can manipulate cubes into the scale. I just don't.
I mean, it's an elevator, but that's kind of a solved problem. Or it's not even an elevator. It's a stick on a motor, basically.
I think that if you can get it into the lowest goal and then into the switch, there is no difference to me between that and the scale.
Interesting. So you're saying that because you can move you can move your game piece from the floor to the switch, you should just be able to go from there up to the scale.
Absolutely.
Okay, fair enough. I mean,
that's why I say 18 when I'm talking about what reasonable alliances will be able to do in the first weeks, because everybody's going to be fighting over the switch, or everybody's going to be fighting over the scale, and that's a 2005 style. Like, you have to keep just putting objects on,
right,
just to keep them from catching up.
Just to clarify, Steve, you're talking scale getting cubes on the scale, or are you talking climbing on the scale?
I'm talking about getting cubes on the scale.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think of climbing as in an end game term. Contributing to your alliances so that you can get the ranking points in autonomous or the 30 points for playoffs. I think you would need to be able to do that, and I don't think it's that hard.
Yeah, I almost see an inverse relationship here, where I see the teams that are able to climb on the scale being powerful in the early weeks, and then as you go up from week to week, I see that being less of an importance, because the point values go up, the climb doesn't mean as much because of how many cubes are scored.
Yeah. Well, actually,
go
ahead, Steve.
I don't know if you were going to say this, Francis, but I think that the point values might not necessarily go up as teams get better at dealing with the scale.
Right.
Because if you're the only team that's good at dealing with the scale, your point values are going to be ginormous compared to everybody else. But if somebody is in most of your matches contesting it and keeping it so that you don't have 135 rated action worth of the scale, and you instead have half of it or less, the point values just plummet as teams get better.
Yeah, that's actually the ultimate irony, like you were saying, is that the better the teams get, the more time the scale spends in neutrality or somewhere between there. So points go down. But then when that happens, the switch becomes more important. So then you start blocking your opponent's switch, and all this other stuff starts happening, right? Like there are so many variables in this game. This is like literally playing 4D chess with all the different things going on with the game, you know.
So going back to robot design ideas, though the other ones that we briefly mentioned, so we're talking about getting cubes on the scale. I see a lot of 2011 logo motion elevators for that. Just quickly whipping an extension ladder type design up. The one that's popping in my head is 254, just because of how fast and buttery smooth that thing looked.
Oh yeah,
that was unbelievable. And then a robot that complements that design well is a robot that's able to get cubes to that robot, and that robot never has to leave the null area. So a team that's able to quickly cycle back either from probably the portal would make the most sense. Go to the portal, get a cube, dump it right next to him. So that robot even can just sit in that thing the whole match, to that, as well as you're controlling the flow too. So then your opposing alliance can only get to me through the opposite side of the field. I see that being a big design too, where there may be a lot of zone type strategy in this game too, where you have teams focusing on one main area.
yeah, that's true. Actually, I think as we sort of get into hour two of this, let's maybe we should start trying to wrap it up a little bit. But before I do that, I want to talk about defense, because I'm really curious what your guys' thoughts are on, and the people in the chat start talking about this too, because I want to hear what your thoughts are. What do you guys think about defense in this year's game? Right, it's congested. There's a lot of stuff going on, but putting one cube can cause a lot of damage. Like even if it's just wiping out what you've currently got. Do you think it's going to be like 2005 on Einstein, where we see teams kind of ballerina placing cubes here and there, or is it going to be like 2005 regional play where everybody's beating the ever-loving crap out of each other? Let's start with Steve.
Well, with protected zones and congestion, I prefer this style to 2007 Rock'em Sock'em T-bone defense all day.
Rack attack?
Where defense, Rock'em Sock'em Rack Attack, where defense is manipulating the other side of their switch or the scale.
Okay.
I like offense as defense. I much prefer it.
That's true. What do you guys think?
And it's more effective, because I have seen like 6 effective defensive robots in first ever.
I mean, I'd say I've seen more than that, but you're right. Most teams don't play defense well. Is the big thing.
Yeah.
The awkward situation is that the best defensive robots are the best offensive robots at the same time, just because they're driven well. So, Ty, what are your thoughts on defense in this game?
I don't think you're gonna see as much pushing defenses and like the shoving defense. I think you're gonna see kind of like 2011 style defense, in that, get in their way when they're trying to go to X or Y, and grab a game piece if you can grab it before they can. But the biggest defense I think you're gonna see is just in counter scoring of the best, like in this game, the best way to deny your opponent's points is to put your own cube on your side of that scoring element. And I think, with the switch, with the Switch, if you can put it on, then you're not scoring any points, or they're not scoring any points whatsoever. And with the scale, their points basically turn into your points, which is like, if I could find a way to play defense like that in 2017, then I'm golden.
Yes. Every ball
like,
you miss.
So what
he has
I
a
think,
point.
right? I don't think you're going to see like the 2007 and 2000 and 13 stuff like that. I think you're going to see more 2016 with denial of game elements, and 2000, and then this year will be like the first time we see scoring to descore.
Okay, Matt, what's your take?
My take is I wouldn't call it rock'em sock'em beat 'em to death. I would call it more bumper cars. I see a lot of congestion. I see a lot of frustrated drivers. I see penalties being called. Yeah, I see a lot of frustration. It's just you have a goal you want to do, but it's just really hard to get there.
Yeah.
Like, what's that phrase? You can't get there from here type thing.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a picture of the top view of the field, and the biggest open area is right by the Alliance Station walls. And even in that area, you have the power cube zone, which the opposing Alliance can't touch. So if you're flying down the field to play defense on that side, remember, you have the scale in the way, which is a huge wall. It's mostly covered up with pictures of stuff.
Yep.
So you can't really see through it that well. And you have the switch on that side with the fence around it. It's going to be really hard to see down there and play clean defense. Now, I know elite teams and ones with lots of practice will be fine, and I get that. But, yeah, I see a lot of people trying to go the right route of playing good offense and playing defense and offense at the same time by putting cubes on a switch to counteract and all that stuff. Wanting to do that, but being frustrated that they're just having a hard time doing it because it's so congested.
Yeah. My one thing to add to all of this is I think you guys are mostly right that we're going to see a lot of back and forth as opposed to just beating people up. But I think you are going to see some beat ups happen in the null zone, right? Because if you're there's going to be a lot of teams that will try to score the cubes on the end of the on the ends of the field, right? Basically the ends of the switches, right? So they can see the side of the robot easily, right? And people are going to want to go through there, and quite frankly, people like hitting robots. Robots like drivers like hitting other robots, especially if they're way up in the air. So I think you're going to see some tussling over that direction. But at the end of the day, it's
over in the null territories.
Yeah, like as people try to put the cubes up onto the scale.
The null territories are the only protected zone in Telia.
Oh wait, you're right. Ooh, that's right. Sorry. Well.
Well, I mean, we could see it. I'd rather not.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. You know what? Defend me all you want. I'll take the 25 points.
Yes, exactly. Well, I guess that brings up another point too, where is this going to be a penalty magnet game? Is this going to be as bad as 2005 that we saw, where it was like penalties of death, or is it just going to be an annoyance that happens? Matt, you're shaking your head. What's your thought?
I don't know if it's going to get that bad, but I do see it. Yeah, I see the potential for a lot of ref calls making match decisions, which there's a lot of stuff in the NFL right now, and I mean, really, and the NBA. I mean, really, every major sporting thing has this issue, or at least they claim they have the issues. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And tech foul is 25 points, so that's just as much, or not just, but very close to one climb's worth of points. So like Ty said, I'll take the 25 points. That's a significant amount of points. It's not like, oh, sorry, I bumped into you, I point penalty. It could be significant, especially in the early weeks where points are more at a premium. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this gameplay is.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're gonna call it a night here for GameSense in a second. I'll give everybody a chance though to say their last words about this year's game, what they're thinking. So, Ty, why don't you start off? Give us your last take on this year's game on Power Up.
All right, I think that we might have finally achieved an interesting to watch pick and place game in FRC. 2007, it was hard to see things and figure out what was going on with all the wibbly wobbly octopus legs. In 2011, it was just everybody was on their end of the field, and none of that mattered until you did some mini bots. So I'm really excited to see robots reaching up high and going across the field and tipping things back and forth. And I'm waiting for like I'm waiting for that moment on Einstein where you've got one half of the field going, oh, and then they tip it to the other side and the other half of the field goes, oh. So that's what I'm waiting for, is those back and forths.
That should be hype. Who wants to go next? Steve, why don't you go?
So, I don't like giving advice here. So, hear my plea. This game can be amazing, but it depends on the teams not chickening out. So, it can turn into a foul fest if you treat the fouls as stuff that will happen during the match rather than these are fouls, these are technical fouls because you shouldn't even be considering doing this stuff. Just don't do it. Listen to Woody and actually make this game spectacular.
Well, I hope you're right, Steve. I don't know if it's going to come to fruition, but I hope so. Matt, what's your take? Your last statement your last statement on the first day.
I'm really excited that this game presents the potential to see in elimination matches. They are called elimination matches now again, right? Is playoff still a thing? I don't know. Anyway, I'm excited that this game has the potential to have different strategies win matches and eliminations. You could see a finals match where it's two different strategies that may take it, and depending on how they're executed, things could happen. You could have different types of robots working together differently to do similar objectives, but to get the higher point values. And we haven't really seen that in games in a long time. The last one I can think of is in 2006 with the poof balls. You had to decide whether it was an advantage to score your 10 balls in autonomous or hold on to them, let the other team win that, so then you were set up with 10 balls ready to go. Or do you deal with going on and blocking somebody on a ramp, or do you do this? And on Einstein that year, there were different strategies, and it was like a chess match. People went back and forth based on what they saw, like we see in the NFL and other sports arenas. So I'm excited to see that this game has the potential to have different strategies going head to head, and people having to really think when they see something happen, how am I going to counteract that? So it's going to be cool to see.
Yeah, I think, and that's kind of tells what I was going to say, is that this is the first game in a while where it's a coach's game, right? And I'm always excited to see a coach's game where maybe we've seen last year a lot of different kinds of match strategy where it's like, do we go 4 rotors or do we go for the balls, right? This game is going to be all about coaches making calls on the field that make the right moves for your alliance, right? Go to the switch, get the switch. Go to the scale, get the scale. Hit the power up now. Don't hit the power up now, right? That's what's really exciting for me, is that we're going to see, it is about the robots, but also at the same time, this is a robot competition with lots of people involved, right? And these people are what make it interesting for everybody to watch, right? I mean, if you look at all those documentaries and all the people that film it first, right? They look at the robots, but as soon as the robot is done doing what it's done, right to the people, because that's what people care about and that's what people connect with. So I'm excited to see these great calls get made on the field during the course of the week. So it should be fun. So yeah, go out and win one for the Gipper, like I always say, right? All right, so everybody, thank you so much for watching. We had a great time. This is just the first episode of the season. This is our 5th season of GameSense. Steve, thanks for joining us and coming on. Matt, thanks for joining us. Ty, thanks for joining us. Ruth, thanks for joining us. Unfortunately, looks like the Robot in 3 Days people are sucking up all the bandwidth over at AnyMark, so she wasn't able to stay on the stream. But thank you for coming here. And everybody in the chat, thank you for being here. It was great talking with you. Great having a conversation about what was going on for this year's game. We love talking robots. We know you guys too, so we wanted to just do that with you guys. Last thing, thank you to our sponsor, Symbotic. Great job. I work for them. Ty works for them. They're a great company that does a lot of cool things. Check them out at symbotic.com. And one last pitch, everybody, if you're interested and like what we do, you can help support us by subscribing on Twitch. If you've got Twitch Prime or if you've got Amazon Prime, it's free. If not, you can subscribe for just $5. Take a look at the screen at the top of the screen and give a click if you're interested. So, all right, well, everybody, good luck this season. We'll be back probably not too long from now with some more episodes. But in the meanwhile, stay tuned. So have a good night, everybody.